Dragonborn. As Hemingway never said, right drunk, edit sober. Words sound true in my head regardless of the misconception. This, a challenge we shall take together. It does indeed go down easy, simple water and scotch. Not the other way around, you see, for there is little water and the scotch is a heavy burden. And no, in conclusion, it does not work as Hemingway never said. We have a long way to go through these stories, a very long way to go. There are many great things I have in waiting for you all. 4 epic tales built into one world, with each story being able to take years to get through. Hopefully you all lovingly wait through it all with me as the separate yet very intertwined pieces come together. This is a horrible start to these huge adventures. I am fresh and a horrible writer, so if you're wanting to find perfection in literary know-hows, I haven't an editor to correct my stupid self. Stories. I, my readers and listeners, am not a writer. I am simply a storyteller who wants to share. Let's get into the meat and potatoes, you yell? Okay. As you wish, my dear ones, yet you ask for it. Don't come crying to me when you feel some aches at the pain of it all. Feel sorry for my aches, however. I'm the one who knows the deaths involved. Up. We are going far into the sky, to a place practically in space, overlooking the world. A vast world indeed. It is the world same as ours, for in fact the same exact world we live in. Higher than the sky above it all, where oxygen is fright and gravity is light, and the sun's rays will crisp your very skin to ash if but a regular human. A single soul invited yet to arrive. Humans, though untouched by the feeling of discomfort in this altitude above the world. Invited by who, you ask? This being the castle above the sky. There is only one who could give an invitation onto these sacred grounds. The Dragon King himself. The one and only. Dragons are an ancient race, some scaled, others feathered, some holding no form at all. Simply, dragons are as old and rare as it gets, people. This is the castle above the sky. This is the Dragon King's invitation. This is where our story begins, and you will learn more about dragons as this story unfolds. For in this first adventure, it tells of the heir to the throne. It has been weeks or months from the last I've pricked these keys. Let me bring out this story now. And again, the bottle empties. It is always a pleasure to fill this light. So, when they finally stand at the opening of the castle, yes, says Love. Do you think they are watching us already? They are, says Love. Walking along the path to the castle's entrance, Soul slightly skips as he makes his way, almost a smirk on his face with a little float in steps. Love, however, walks unfazed by the rare feeling of gravity's fright absence. She is unchanged and solid. You have come. Please escort yourself into the center hall. It must be dull, Soul states. Given the permission, they flash jump into the center hall. Light is blinding, with every aspect of the room extremely bright. The sun would burn from its gaze. The two never blink, however, knowing this would be the case. The only indication of change in the two is the look of a slight wind upon them as their hair and clothes sway. However, nothing seems to be in the same gust. The cinder hall is filled with massive trees and flowers of all strange variants, hugely vast and truly wonderful. A mist of water fills the air above, keeping everything well kept, and there is a soft melody in the hall as some rare flowers vibrated. I must ask you to keep off the grass and leave the plants be. We put a lot of time and magic into keeping them alive in this high altitude. A lovely form floats into the center of the greenery, speaking her almost tired yet demanding instructions. A lovely form floats into the center of the greenery, speaking her almost tired yet demanding instructions. A slight glow is on her skin, it seems, not faint yet not as bright as in the tall walls of the hall, wearing an unusual dress that is almost the exact likeness of her skin, which is a faint pink. Quite a lively face that doesn't seem to match the tone in her tired voice, though. Her voice does have a strange power to it, so alive. It's such a pleasant surprise to get an invitation. We are deeply happy to be here, and to meet again, doll. And I'm surprised you are choosing to look almost human. Sol kindly smiles at the bright dragon before him. The invitation was only one invitation, Mr. Sol. If you shall ever be instructed here again, comply. Without changing expression, her vibrant voice is something to take serious. As for this human form, it is only temporary out of necessity. That's very strange, doll. You know I adore your true self. Ignoring her displeased comment about bringing another, Sol really was looking forward to seeing the dragons. This bright human form is indeed rare, yet their true form has long been hidden from the world. It is not because of you, Mr. Sol. This matter is not for me to discuss personally. The king shall enlighten you. Doll holds her head high, and her features elegantly show as she looks into the air. Mr. Sol has arrived, my king. The power of her fills the great hall. Trees sway and the flowers dance. If one knew enough about creatures filled with power like she is indeed filled, and more than most, they would know, as Sol and Love knew, how Doll was holding back her call. We are headed there. The words shake the floor. None, however, seem to be surprised by the tremble that fills the hall. Sol is indeed pleased, and his face shows a warm smile. Love, on the other hand, is unchanged and silently stands as if she hadn't heard nor felt the voice or tremors, simply watching the flowers. It takes little time for the king to arrive. They first catch a glimpse of him up above the castle, flying his massive form, a bright golden dragon swaying elegantly. As the king flies closer, they all notice the small boy laughing as he clings to the king's long back. They disappear behind the castle before walking into the room, also in a human form. Instead of the pink glow that flows through Dole, the king is blazed in a gold shimmer. He has also not come alone. On the king's back there was a young child, a boy in fact. Unlike the king's golden skin, the child's skin was black, though as Sol and Love keenly see, there is a slight and very slight at that, for no normal eyes would be able to see a very faint gold warms the child's skin. The child seems quite interested as he peeks over the king's shoulders. Hello, my friends. Thank you for coming all this way. The king's gracious smile fills his face, greeting his guests. Forgive me, Sol. Forgive me, Sol. If I had known that the dear Love was still accompanying you, I would have included her in the invitations. It does ease my heart to know she is with you after all this time, and I hope that she shall stay with you for a little bit longer. This really does ease my heart indeed. The king seems flustered as he speaks to them, his bright smile unable to cover the strain it's taking to convey his thoughts. His smile may be filled with vibrant glory as the king stands before them, though his eyes are another sight altogether. Eyes completely drained. Though kind and indeed happy, yet extremely cold and dragged with the strain about him. Who is this child? Sol questions with fascination in his eyes, with the wonder of the child's glow. My son. The king eases the child off his back and stands him with pride. His name is Bentham. His mother picked Bentham Bon Argyle, though he seems to prefer simply Bon. Bon is dressed in shimmeringly bright clothes of fine and rare material. Cleanly braided, his hair falls over his shoulders, for there is a great heap of it. Barefoot, he stands before Sol. It's so nice that you finally found Love. Sol is very pleased to hear this truly great news. See? It was only a matter of time. You had such little hope. When one lives long enough, it's bound to happen if one opens themselves up. Ah, yes. Your words did end up being quite true. The king speaks softly, looking away from his friend. She died in birthing. King's smile wavers at that moment, and he truly looks lost in his tired state. Looking down at his son, he puts his hand on his head and ruffles the child's hair caringly, his smile returning. He looks so much like her. It truly is amazing. Looking into his son's eyes, I never knew how much I could love or hurt until then. It truly is amazing. It's a shame. Soul commends. The king pulls his eyes away from his son, looking up at Soul. There is an understanding nature to the way they look at each other. There need be no more words to say. Without taking another second, the two snap out of their sadness that stole them. Your son, this is really quite rare. I wonder how long it's been since the last there was a child among you all, none the least a half-human at that. Soul is amazed at the child before him and doesn't care to hide his amazement. Your son, this is quite rare. I wonder how long it's been since the last there was a child among you all, none the least a half-human at that. Soul is amazed at the child before him and doesn't care to hide his amazement either. Roughly 10,000 years, Joel informs. Yes, it's been a long while indeed. My son has to be one of the rarest lives in this world, and that's why I have called you here, Soul. You know of the ways our power works. You know of the way our powers work. We share them with the creatures and lives who have deemed us worthy. This child needs to create those bonds for himself like we have for ourselves, or else he will die. Soul looks at the child. You want me to take your son, King? There is no one else. No one can teach him as much as you, and no one I trust more. My fellow race is able, yet they have long been detached from the mortal world. The forest is our lifeline, and there is little for him to grow with it. Love looks deeply at Soul, and he instinctively gives her a look back. From her, he quickly looks away, and then he goes to the boy and kneels face to face with him. Hello, boy. Hello. Without looking away, the child looks clear into the eyes of the man in front of him. Soul looks into the eyes of the boy, catching the faint golden glow showing deeply in the child's eyes. Fascinated with the unique sight before him and the clear absence of timidness the boy shows, the eyes of the unwavering shine back at him. We will take him. Soul raises himself and smiles. I knew I could count on you. I knew I could ask you. The king ruffles Bond's hair, looking down at the boy. But only for a little while, Soul says kindly. When the child is ready, he will join the academy. A child should be a child, after all. He will create more bonds there than what I could give him. If you feel that is the best place for him, do as you please. Before you do, however, send him off with your blood calling. I gave him mine, and Doll gave hers before you arrived. The king raises his arm toward Soul. They take each other by the forearm lightly. You have my word. Doll goes over to Bond and takes his hands. If anything ever happens, you must call for us. You promise me, okay? If you ever call, we will be there. I promise. Pulling his hands from hers, he hugs her. Seeming to be taken aback, Doll takes a second to compose her unfamiliarity before hugging back. They all enjoy a moment of natural love shown in leaving someone cared for. Soul smiles at the king before lifting the boy and carrying him on his back. Are you ready, love? Yes, Love says coldly. They make their way to the castle's edge. The boy looks back at his father, who smiles warmly with tired eyes. Love follows Soul as he walks off the edge.